Good evening and welcome to our March City Council meeting. It is March 2nd. I appreciate all of you being here tonight with us. And we'll start out, first of all, I want to call the meeting to order and start out with our invocation. Mr. Wright.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with grateful hearts for this city we call home. Lord, we thank you for the people who live here, work here, raise families here, and care deeply about its future. Lord, we thank you for those who accepted the opportunity to serve and lead. Lord, we ask you for your wisdom as this council meets tonight. Lord, give each member clarity in thought and discernment in decisions and the ability to listen as well. Lord, help us weigh every decision and every issue with fairness, patience, and integrity. When conversations are difficult, grant calm spirits and respectful words. When decisions are complex, Lord, please provide insight and sound judgment. Lord, we pray for unity. Not that everyone would always agree, but that we always have a mutual respect and a shared commitment to what is best for our community. Lord, help our leaders act with humility, courage, and compassion. Lord, we also lift up our country, our state, and our national leaders. Lord, guide us with wisdom and integrity as they serve in their roles. Lord, strengthen them as they pursue justice, protect their communities, and lead with character. Lord, more than anything else, Lord, bless our town. Lord, bless our schools, our businesses, our first responders, Lord, families and volunteers. May we be a community marked by kindness, responsibility, and pride in caring for one another. Lord, we love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Vice Chair, lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Booth, will you give us roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Knight.
Present.
Vice Mayor Walsh.
Present.
Councilman Lewandowski.
Present.
Mayor Rodenroth.
Present.
And Councilman Ludwig.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I have a proclamation for the National Speech and Debate Education from our high school here in town. Ms. Shannon Southam, are you here tonight?
Yes.
Okay, I want to present this to you and your team. And maybe we can all take some lessons from this debate team, right? We might. Yeah, okay. City of Keystone Heights, Florida, proclamation recognizing March 6, 2026 as
come a little bit more, a little bit more. Maybe if you guys want to come a little bit over here next to the mayor. Oh, yes, let's put the mayor near the middle. Over here. No, you do too. I'm sure like y'all. I mean, I think y'all are probably taller than y'all. Perfect. Okay, now just breathe in. Okay, faces. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you all. Congratulations. What's going on, there's more. Thank you, Ms. Salmon. Appreciate it. All right, next is our city manager report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I just want to give an update from our last meeting, which I think was February 2nd. And I'll use the same lines that I did for the last update. Going first off, just talking about the Public Works team, particularly led by Mr. Garrett Cox and the entire team. Over the last month, they've worked very hard. If you go out back and see the monument here, where we put the time capsule down, they've been working very hard to match the time capsule monument to the old City Hall monument, and it looks pretty darn good. They're just getting the finishing touches on that. I've also spent a lot of time down in the Geneva jungle. I've gotten that remulched, and they've gone through in different areas and kind of wiggled and pulled the structures to make sure that they're tight. And if they weren't tight, got some extra screws and reinforced it where it needed. Also, and I know Wendy's happy about this now that she's not working in the conference room anymore, but after about 3 or 4 months, we got her window repaired, which had a leak in it. That required the floor to be repaired after it had been leaking for a while. And so the Public Works team did a great job getting that all taken care of. And now Wendy's back in an office, which I'm sure she appreciates. If you haven't seen it or haven't showed you, they've also gone into the old records vault and torn out the old cabinets and filing areas in there. Really opened it up. Once we can get all the minutes that are in there digitally scanned, we'll effectively have another office available. You know, got to knock out a few cement blocks and throw a window in there, but looking at different ways of recovering office space.
Huge improvement.
Absolutely. And then they have, while doing all this, have put a massive effort over the last month in replacing road signs, stop signs, yield signs, the name signs of streets, do not enter signs. Many of these have probably been up for decades, have been significantly faded. There's a lot more to go, but if you're driving around town, you should notice a significant difference in a lot of the street signs, and that's because the Public Works team has been out there getting that corrected over the last month and a half, and going to keep going at it. On the code enforcement side, Ms. Debbie Mullis has been doing a terrific job. We've been doing some research into what our ordinances say about motor vehicles, boats, RVs, and trailers in folks' front yards. We may end up talking about that later, and then depending on timing for this meeting, and then obviously continuing to work letters of concern and then working with those citizens. We have not had to go to any requests for meetings or hearings with the local magistrate. That relationship has been very good between Debbie and the homeowners. Most of the time, folks just didn't know they were in violation of city ordinance, and so she's been doing a terrific job. Matt Cole out at the cemetery completed the trimming of that front row of trees that line that wooden fence line. That's all completely done. Now I'm having him shift over. Matt's looking at the entire perimeter fence. It's had a few trees go through it over the last few decades, and so we're going to do a full assessment on that thing and make sure it's brought up to speed. Doing a great job though, and then working on applying the new fees that y'all approved back in January, but also working in a kind way with loved ones who may have grave sites that are kind of beyond their standards. You know, we have areas out there that may over time have grown with chimes and crystal things that reflect light, and sometimes it may get a little too excessive. Trying to find the right times to talk to those folks and make sure we bring it down to what are the rules for the cemetery, but doing it in a way that recognizes that they're really just trying to recognize their loved ones. So he's doing a great job working through that. Wendy and Michelle Murphy at City Hall doing a great job of that excess reduction. It took a whole lot of work to get that vault room cleared out before we could rip those pieces of infrastructure out of there, and Wendy and Michelle have been doing a terrific job. Events Drew did a really good job on the Coffee and Commerce at Harbor Commons last month, and we'll have another one to keep those going. And Drew did develop a cost assessment of the summer concert series, and we'll bring that for y'all's consideration and discussion at the next city council meeting. We'll likely talk about it ahead of time at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, because it does, obviously, needs to be talked about in the budget impacts of that. Bo's doing a terrific job, but I'll just highlight, we do have a $123,000 tennis court under construction right behind us. So we're very happy about that. A lot of folks have been waiting for that for decades, so it's looking really good. They seem to be ahead of schedule. Ms. Tiffany Coleman in Fiscal has been doing a terrific job getting our mid-year budgets aligned, looking at what amendments we'll have to do with some of our French costs, but in general, what we're expecting to come in and what we're expecting to spend is relatively in line. Though we do have some amendments we'll talk about with budget and financing and with the city council after that. And then just broader for city fiscal situation, we talk about what has this staff been doing besides all that I've talked about. Right now, $260,000 in grants secured this year. And we found out a week or two ago that we are currently still in play for $235,000 in legislative appropriations. Those appropriations on 2 projects have passed the House and are in the House's budget, and now it's in conference with the Senate. So we'll see if those 2 projects survive conferencing and then make it to the budget that will be sent to the governor. So keep your fingers crossed, but we think we set conditions well with that, and we appreciate Representative Sapp's staff and working those for us. Last thing I have is that the next city council meeting will be on the 6th of April from 5. We'll do a CRA at 5:30 and do this again at 6 o'clock. Happy to answer your questions if the council has.
Any questions?
Go back to signs real quick. One of the things we had talked about was putting up some city limit signs. You are now entering the physical city. This is what Orange Park has, and so it helps to differentiate and say, yes, you are in the city, or no, you are not. Is that in the plan, or is it just replacing and fixing up what we already have?
This effort has been replacing what we already have. And I did, after you mentioned that, Councilman Lewandowski, I can't remember which meeting, I've been paying attention as we've driving around. All the main roads do have those signs, but it's a lot of these side streets that are not marked. But
The main roads have them in the wrong places. They are not where the city begins.
well, Councilman, you're referring to the blue keystones that are set, I think, by a private organization decades ago. But at the actual city limit transitions, the city has city limit signs. So it's
Tiny, small things.
the small ones. I agree. They are very small. They're not. They're not
And
20 foot
nothing
keystones.
like what Orange Park has. Orange Park has some beautiful signage that says you're in the city. And I think this goes along with what we want at the turn event there, where the old KFC used to be. I think we need to think about, what do we want our signage to look like in the city? Is there a standard? Is there some artistic thing that we want to have? Is there a stamp of Keystone Heights-ish, style that we want to have? And maybe even take it off the council and let somebody else work it, like the Heritage Council did with the mural on the side of the building. They did a fabulous job. But I'm just thinking, we should be a little more sophisticated. We should be a little more thoughtful, and not just say, Public Works, go put up some signs.
Yeah. So this was talked about at the strategic planning workshop, and it had to do with everything from welcome to Keystone Heights, like on the corner here at 121, to also signage that kind of wanders through town that tells you this way to go here, this way to go here, to certain businesses, whatever,
Right.
as landmarks, but artistic looking, like really attractive signage.
Yeah.
And I know I have photographs from several cities that I've been to that show how those things kind of weave around, but they're attractive to see, but they blend in with the so-called theme of the city.
Right.
Like you said, I think we have to always walk before we run. Our first walk was the beautiful mural that we have. We got to start. And I agree. I think that the Heritage Commission will probably be helpful to us on advice on what those additional signs may look like. I think we just have to come up, with the corner still not even going to get finished now to 2027 with FDOT. We can't do much till they get done with that, right? And then the landscape and all will come later. But I do think it's certainly something to take a look at and kind of what our idea might. I know the Heritage Commission picked up color scheme for downtown when the facade grants were given a couple of years ago. So they have certain colors already that are considered heritage colors. And so those are some colors I think probably that could be incorporated into the signage at some point. But you're right, I agree. I think it gives us continuity and it gives us presence. We don't want to look like Orange Park. We want to look like Keystone Heights. And we'll figure out what that is. I agree.
And the Heritage Commission, pardon me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm looking for them. I don't see, is there anyone from the, oh, Jen? Oh, that's right, you're
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
Jen's on
commission
the,
now.
Jen's
I
on the,
forgot.
she is, yeah.
Yeah.
To the point of some of the stuff that's been brought up, one of the things you had mentioned Orange Park, and one of the things that I think is really interesting about their signage is the little signs that have the road names on it also have the city logo. And so, for example, the county has actually dealt with this for years where there was a lot of confusion between what roads were public roads and what roads were private roads. And so Clay County transitioned a lot of roads. If you're a private road in Clay County, for example, my family's on a private road, it's a white sign with black lettering. If you're a road that is a public road, pretty much all of them are the standard green with the white lettering. And so for the city, to the discussions you guys talked about, possibly with signs, that's also beneficial because it understands, like, say, somebody is calling City Hall with a complaint. Jamie can say, well, is your street, and I'm just giving a theoretical here, I'm not saying this is going to be what the Heritage Commission would do, but say, is it a black sign with the city logo on it? Because if not, that's not a, street inside of city limits. I probably can speak for you guys as well. When I check my emails, I get a lot of emails from people outside the city who have a Keystone Heights address, but that address is only for your postal code. It's not for in city limits. And so I spend half of my email, this is, the actual city limits, there's a map, but then I say, this is how I can point you to the right person. So I feel like that would also go a long ways too, in the long term, not saying implement it right now, but helping alleviate some of the confusion as well.
Yeah, the so-called decorative sign I'm talking about would not be actual street signs, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it'd just be like directional signs
Right.
downtown.
Wayfinding.
Yes,
Yeah.
wayfinding or, yeah, so, but that's also a pretty interesting idea, I think, because our geographic area is so unique.
Yeah.
You can be on one road, you're in the city, and the next road, you're in the county. And I had the same thing, even on social media, responding to folks, many of them are not in the city limit. And we can direct them to county support, but we have to kind of figure out, is that literally in the city or not, that we could have direct, input on.
And you have unique challenges like Grove Street right next to me, where the left side of Grove Street is in city limits and the right side is not.
Yeah.
And you go down and certain properties are and certain aren't. So it gets very weird.
It gets a little weird.
It gets very weird. And I'll also say, coming from Palatka, we have a city limit sign and it says state championship wrestling team, state championship, whatever. But it's very piecemeal. It's like we have the same old sign, and when we get a new championship, we just put another little line on there, another piece of metal.
And we've had some other
And-
championships.
Yeah, well, I mean, they put most of them on there, but it looks kind of tacky.
Is that the city or the school district that does that? Because I have wondered where that sign, because there's one also when you come in from the,
Scott might know.
Those signs, I think, were put up by Rotary decades ago. I think they're done by private group.
No, I think you're talking about the big blue ones that are the
Big
shit.
chevron.
No, we're talking about just the little green.
so there's like a little, it's like a blue sign, like
It's the
right there.
county.
It's the county?
Yeah, the county gets with, I believe it's the county road department.
Uh-huh.
Because if you've noticed that the last one we won was not put on the signs you come in town, it was put out there on the big marquee near Freedom Baptist Church just north of Brooklyn Bay.
Right.
Because I was like, where's the new one? And then I saw a photo when they did it, so.
All right, so we need to talk to the county.
Find
We
out.
need to talk to the county, see
Find
how
out
we
where
can
it came
fix that.
Okay, any other questions for
I'm
Mr.
sorry, I
Booth?
have too many questions.
So we next have, we do have any public comments?
We don't have any written comments submitted or comments submitted for this portion. We do have one comment for the ordinance.
Okay,
And looking around to see if we have anybody that wishes to just make general public comments. Just hoping to hear from somebody about Geneva Jungle. They were more comfortable posting on Facebook but not showing up, so
Everybody.
threw the gauntlet down and they didn't show.
yeah,
That's good.
All right.
so, yeah, we have our consent agenda here. And the one thing I want to do, y'all, we have a really large agenda tonight with some things that are going to take some time to talk about or discuss. I'm trying really hard to keep this meeting to 2 hours or less. So we just want to keep our comments brief as possible. And if we need to move something to another meeting, we can certainly do that. Okay, if we need more time to talk about things.
So I would like to move that we take all consent agenda items and move them to the next meeting, because I had almost zero time to look at them.
Okay.
And I would have to vote no on approval because I haven't looked at the consent agenda items yet. And I just don't feel comfortable approving something I haven't looked at. That's just my thought.
Madam Mayor, is there anything within the consent agenda, Mr. Booth, that you need us to act on tonight?
I am looking through that right now. I need y'all to act on the interagency.
The audit engagement.
Yep, so number 10, the agreement with Department of Corrections. Do we need the alcohol, is that timely?
And we talked about the Hanson at the previous CRA meeting, the assignment there.
Yep. Hanson,
That's the scope of work.
So you could, if there's certain things you have concern on, you could make a motion to pull out those individual items.
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask just that same question, if someone would entertain a motion just to approve of those pressing items and table everything else, if Councilman Lewandowski is in agreement.
Well, as long as someone has truthfully looked at these with a fine tooth comb, then I will trust my fellow colleagues. But I'm usually the person who does that, and I have not done that. And so I don't feel comfortable unless someone else steps forward and says, yes, I read that, and yes, that's good.
But you're,
I know I'm holding things up if I say that.
no, but we may have a disagreement on that next meeting, then, and we don't want to have a quarrel, that's all, not necessarily.
Mr. Manager, I do feel pretty comfortable, because I did look through them, I feel pretty comfortable moving most of these forward. I did have a question though on item 17, which was to terminate the interlocal agreement with Clay County. And I'm assuming that's relating, what's the difference between that and the Lake Geneva agreement that came out the other
so,
night?
thank you, Councilman. So a year ago, actually June of 25, we entered an interagency agreement with Clay County that the city of Keystone Heights would be the contracting organization or entity for the Lake Geneva Restoration Project, and the county would move funds to us. That's the interlocal agreement that we are terminating. So we entered another interlocal agreement last meeting to move $41,000 to the county after, well, I'll be honest, my attempt failed and had a massive, huge quote on it. And so all this, once the county realized that we hadn't closed out the one that's almost a year old, this is more of an administrative process to close out an interlocal agreement that has no effect anymore.
I'm good with that one.
The $41,000, that's all still in effect. The movement of funds, that's still good.
And I have also gone through these in a fair amount of detail, several of them. So these balance sheets are for the item 12 or from our meeting, our budget finance meeting from February, correct?
Yes, ma'am. They're the ones that budget finance
The ones that we went
committee
through and
reviewed.
made the adjustments.
Those are okay.
Those, and then, of course, we have a request for the pavilion, and of course, you have that thing with the director of Department of Corrections. The Hanson work, audit, are both things that we have already talked about. Like we talked about the Hanson project thing at our CRA meeting, and what that was for them to pursue a grant for us and oversee it. That's what that discussion was about. Let's see here, then this is an event for the parades and stuff coming up. And then you just asked about the other one here, the interlocal agreement. And I read through that, and that's correct, what he just said. Because of the nature of what we were faced with, the challenges.
I had just wanted
I think I was involved in that last June. So.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's, I mean,
So maybe it would be better just to determine what we need to leave out rather than what we
what is,
move on.
you're not feeling comfortable with, Ken?
So I've had almost no time to look at this, and that's just very frustrating for me. So I'm going through it right now, and I'm trying to determine from the inputs that we've received from the city manager what's really important, and then from my colleagues, what we've only kind of covered, and trying to, rather than blanket do this like you suggest, Mayor, pick and choose what we can and can't
Well,
approve.
would everyone be in agreement maybe to just move on with this? And I kind of, it's twofold, because I want you to be able to engage in the other parts of the meeting tonight. But maybe we should just move on to other parts while you're looking through it, or would that work, or?
I'm close to finishing.
Okay.
I'm just sorry, I just wish I had gotten this sooner.
You want me to go to,
Mr. Commando, are we allowed to move on past these portions, these items right now for a moment?
Can I
think this
ask
is you, Larry.
Why are we doing a Christmas parade thing, item number 16? Is this something we should, Miss Wendy?
To secure the officers needed for the, red walking,
For next December?
yes,
Wow.
because there's so many, events on that day,
Oh,
that's good to
Police
get
are
in,
very
get it
tight.
done,
we have to give as much notice as possible.
do you remember what date you're talking about?
December the 12th.
12? Oh, 12. Okay. All right, well, our collective brains are smarter than I give us credit for. And I think only 8 and 9 are the only things I would like to ask us to move to next month. And I think we can go with the rest if you were all good with that.
So 8 was when Brandon and I were acknowledged as councilman-elect and mayor-elect. as a
Right,
result-
no, it's not about what happened, it's about do the minutes reflect,
Yeah,
or do they need to be modified at all? You know, we've had people's names misspelled, and we've had all kinds of other errors in the minutes, and that's what I'd like to check. I wanna make sure the minutes reflect what happened.
So, Madam Mayor, would you entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with items 8 and 9 approved as well, allowing for any grammatical or factual, allowing for any grammatical changes that need to be made? Would you entertain a motion? I don't know what wording we're gonna need there, we can figure it out, but just to get us moving on.
yeah, I mean, is that good for you? Or do you
Okay,
want to
yeah.
just move it to the next?
I would second that motion.
All right.
All right, I'd just like to avoid this in the future. If I can get these earlier, I'd really appreciate it.
We'll get it in the right wording, but I move that we approve the consent agenda with items 8 and 9 being approved as well, allowing for any necessary grammatical changes that need to be made.
And I seconded that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much for considering my comment.
Thank you. Okay, next we have committee reports. The first one is planning and zoning. Dr. Caesar, is he here?
Nope. I
Okay,
move on then, ma'am.
all right. General Eifert from the airport.
Evening, Mayor, council
Yes, sir.
members.
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure. So, you should have before you a talking paper on Keystone Heights Airport business development efforts. If you want to go over that with me, I'll hit on the highlights. I put it up there just
I do,
for you guys.
I think there are some of us that would actually like to have a separate meeting.
Oh,
This is, we're talking about a $5 billion, maybe $10 billion project here. And
That's
so,
possible.
yeah, it's possible. And I think that's important enough, my personal opinion is, for a separate meeting. And I think we would like to get together with you and your board, I know maybe I'm wrong, and we would just like to learn a lot more about something this massive.
That's why I included in it the letter of intent from the Rayner Group. There's another,
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Very much.
Certainly, Councilman, I mean, when the airport reports to us, they're reporting to us. It's not anything that we get to discuss, decide. if we wanna go to their meeting, we can attend their meetings.
That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking, I guess what I'm asking for is to start off with an informational presentation about what's in this, and, you know, maybe you've already received one, and you can just give us what you've already seen.
I've been in the details with it all, so I
That's
can talk to you about any part of it you'd like.
Because the first I heard of this was in Stark at a Florida League of Cities dinner. And I'm like, what the heck is going on at my airport? And I have no clue that this was going on. It's been going on for a year.
Yeah.
And so I would just like, I don't know, I don't wanna feel like I'm an idiot if anybody asks me about what's happening at the
You're
airport.
welcome to come to all our meetings.
Well, I wish, but I can't do that. I'm just, and I don't wanna hear about all the stuff, it's just I would like to hear about this though. And maybe it's just me, maybe I just need to come down and talk to you and Craig Coons, and maybe that's all. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I'll make myself available whenever you'd like.
You're awesome, you're doing great.
So, Madam Mayor, maybe what we need, I'm sure that General Alford has some things he would like to tell us out of this, but I do have one question. What do you need from us in support of anything you're doing here? Is there anything between now and your next meeting, anything you need from us?
No,
All right.
we're,
This is great.
yeah, we're moving ahead as wisely as we possibly can and continue to make progress. This one with Dr. Reyna from the Arisha Group, like I said, has been going on since David Kirkland was the chairman of the board over a year and a half ago. So a big part of the effort has been the Northeast Florida Economic Development Council with Amber Shepard, who's kind of helped to shape the progress so that we are pursuing all the different grants and other opportunities for economic development aid that come from the state, as well as county efforts that might be available to entice these businesses to come and be a part of our community. So it's moving on well. Nothing is assured. It's they have produced a 10-page, I think, letter of intent there with what their vision is of how this project would play out over the course of, I would envision it would take a course of probably a decade to get through phase 1, 2, and 3 of the project. Phase 1 initially looking at about 100 acres or so, and $600 million capital capex committed to that phase. And then the others will be really dependent on how well they're able to compete for a lot of those grants and aid that they would like to assist the project to go forward. The other thing that's really interesting about that project is it's, as you can look at it and read it, it's nothing firm and definitive in terms of what exactly they're going to do. A lot of their intent is to gather partners in the project, and so they're kind of like the brains and the connectors of the project that would bring everything from a robotic company to a electric vertical takeoff and land company to a drone company, and communicate with them to have them essentially join in this consortium of different organizations that would be able to build out that project in its entirety. So there's nothing specific about it, which I think as we move through will be essential, especially to get the Florida Commerce Department's grants that they're going to be competing for. And so there's a lot of unknowns still, a lot of business that still has to be done between all of the different potential players. And as you look at the list of these other people that we've been talking to, we envision them being probably part of this Reyna Group's consortium that actually ends up being part of the lease property plan that they're going to build out for their entire 3-phase project. Does that make sense?
It sure does. There are 3 concerns I have off the top of my head and from the Florida League of Cities. First is, we're a member of the Clay County Economic Development Corporation, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Are we also a member of the Northeast Florida Economic Development Corporation?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. The second one, and this is a good thing, when I went to the Florida League of Cities dinner, the presentation was that when this group went to various different locations, airports in particular, around the state, they were like, yeah, you can come. And that was like about it. But when they came here, we met them with open arms. We said, how can we help you? The Economic Development Corporation was, this is what we have, this is what we could do. And their response was, we were by far the most welcoming, the most positive out of anybody.
I've gotten the same feedback.
Okay. And so I applaud the airport and everyone you work with, the Economic Development Corporation, you know, that's outstanding. The economic numbers, I mean, just $600,000 in phase one alone is
600
massive. 600 million, oh my goodness, just the first phase, 600 million. It is almost unimaginable how much money that is. And
What I would encourage you to do is I put next to each of the different groups that we're talking about their website. And so I would encourage you to kind of surf that website to see what it is that they've been doing as an example for the RENA Group and the work they're doing out in the United Arab Emirates right now. So that $10 billion project that you're talking about is essentially the same innovation hub built there that they are anticipating bringing to Florida. And so it provides kind of a baseline, a guideline of what they're thinking of doing. However, because they're on airport property, we have pushed hard to make sure that all of the business that they want to be is aeronautical related, so we don't deal with the FAA challenges of allowing us to have that kind of business on our property. So that's why if you get a chance to read the RENA Group's letter of intent, they talk specifically and really solely about aeronautical related activities, so aeronautical and aerospace.
General, if you could email this to our city manager, then he can email it out to the council members so they can just click on the links.
Sure.
And they don't have to worry about retyping.
And I've got it. I'll do that after this meeting.
Okay.
And then my third concern was I've heard, and perhaps you can tell me, that because of Clay County building permits, building rules, building laws, whatever it is, that these people don't want to build a single thing on Clay County property.
That's not true.
That's not true, okay. So,
In
but
fact, what
is the majority on Bradford County?
No, well, really, it will depend on what works to their needs. And so that's kind of the next stage. In fact, we forwarded them our lease checklist. So their next step is to go through the lease checklist and start defining what exactly are the different properties they want for this phase. It's initially the first phase. And so when they do that, then that will start turning, ringing bells that they've got to get surveys done, they've got to get environmental protection or EPA approvals accomplished. So there's a lot of hurdles that have to go, and some of them may even be barriers that prevent them from being able to do certain things that they want to do. And so all of that is kind of the bureaucratic machinery that has to be run through in order for them to really get to what they want. And I envision completely that what they want to do is not going to happen. But a great portion of it we're hoping will be able to, and we'll be able to work through some of those challenges. And a great example is, as you know, we're bisected by the county line between Bradford and Clay. So they have already talked about the challenges that Clay County presents, given I think it's almost 10x the impact fees that Clay County charges versus Bradford. So that may influence where they want to build, but ultimately if they want to build out their entire plan, it's going to require Clay County property as well. And they may find that some Clay County property is more amenable to what the needs are of whatever different industry that they plan to build in. And some examples could be the drone business. If you put the drone stuff closer to Camp Landing, that gives them the opportunity to work right into the airspace as opposed to having to cross airport property to get there. So that's just a simple example. Another thing they've talked about is potentially with a large enough investment, they could go to Clay County and see if they might be able to get Clay County to bring down their fees to match Bradford's. And so those are different negotiations that businesses do, I'm sure, as they work to build such a large project as they're talking about. Now again, would it all happen? I think it's a long shot. we're gonna continue to pursue all these other businesses that I have on this list as well, and see which of them end up coming together to potentially be part of the innovation hub that Arisha Group wants to create. And if it doesn't, then we're moving on with whoever's gonna be able to actually move forward and decide to commit and actually get the leases done and start paying their dues.
So my thinking is that, the airport board, the airport authority should be lead on this, but perhaps the city could back you. Perhaps the city could be another voice to say, waive certain fees or reduce certain fees. And our city manager and we could go to the county commissioners. You know, we know Ms. Condon very well.
Sure.
You know, and we can be another voice to try to make Clay County more competitive and to make this a better deal for potential incoming businesses, because the ramifications are huge. You know, the trickle-down effect, all the money that would come in here with the number of jobs and the number of other businesses that would benefit from it would be huge.
Absolutely. We'd welcome any assistance you guys can provide, so.
So, well, and I'll go back to what Mr. Knight said, and that was, you know, what can we do to help you? And I think that's a great question.
I would like to know more over time about some of the other potential economic impact. I think that probably down the road, depending on how they actually go about setting up this innovation hub, whether or not they are using regional state contractors that have been preferred, that's going to affect our strategic planning. We're already talking 3, 4, or 5 years out, but your timetable is over the next decade. So we probably would need to think about that side of it, because obviously that will spill over into us. We have, I'm sure, I think the quality of life some people might find refreshing. And so I would like to certainly know more about that, not so much to be in your space, but to know more from the economic development people, what we need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would recommend, it would be my strong recommendation that the county look at, if it means more of it being in this county, that we look at waiving those impact fees.
I have a meeting next week, the 12th, with Crawford Powell and the Clay County Economic Development Council. So we'll be, this will be a big topic for discussion there, to find out what leeway, what wiggle room we have with the county to kind of try to match Bradford or find some way where it allows these companies to build the larger projects that they want and not have to stiff arm Clay just to put it into Bradford. Because frankly, we need Clay County because half of the property is in Clay, and if we want to build one of these big projects, it can't be done in Bradford alone. It's not possible.
Well, and there was a 20 million approximately proposal by the Clay County Utility Authority regarding water, sewer, fire water, you know, and if this kind of $5 billion project is going in, you know, maybe we need to take a good solid look at the $20 million and say, okay, would that be sufficient? Who's gonna pay for that? And go to Tallahassee and ask for help.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Rayna Group is familiar with the challenges we have infrastructure-wise on the airport property, and they've even talked about building their own infrastructure as part of the development project. And so, you know, some of this can be negotiated as business taking on the responsibility for some of the infrastructure. Now, obviously, we're talking about like building their own water tower or their own sanitation plant on the outskirts of our property as part of the project to bring it to full fruition. But again, we're talking stages. I envision the early stages definitely being 100 acres-ish, and that's where the 600 million CapEx comes in and the 100-ish jobs. So once we get through that first phase, I think we'll learn a lot about each other and what we can do and what we think we can do versus what we really can do. So that, you know, there's lots to learn as this thing progresses.
General, I do have a question. One of the things I scrolled through and I looked over at the incentives page, I said incentives, but looking into it, is there any stipulations as you guys are working with this company for construction purposes or hiring purposes, stipulating that they have to use local contractors or hire folks locally? Because that's a concern that I have, is obviously a huge economic impact, it's massive, but if we're not hiring anybody from local and we're bringing in a whole bunch of new people, that might have a significant impact on the community as well.
Yeah, they're actually pretty sensitive to the idea of making the jobs local, making it something that the community wants to be a part of. Dr. Reyna is definitely, he's not that guy who's going to bring in, 100 third country nationals, as we would say in the Middle East, to just build a project and then they're gone. No, it will be locally managed, locally generating jobs and that kind of thing. I'm pretty confident. But that could definitely be something that we talk about.
Because that's what I was going to say. It would be, I know there was a shingle facility that was built up in the Clay Hill part of Clay County, along, I believe, 301 or somewhere in that general vicinity.
I'm familiar.
And part of Clay County's way of getting a pretty significant benefit out of it was that a certain percentage of construction and official jobs had to come from that local area.
Sure.
And so commissioners were able to tout that as, you're hiring a bunch from District 4, which is our commission district, which is Clay Hill, after they lost their timber company. Just a consideration is all.
That's a great idea, and it definitely could be something that we incorporate as we move through the contracting process.
For sure.
General, what is the total acreage of the airport property?
So it's 2,400 total acres. As I've computed it, about 1,390 of it we figure is probably developable at this point, because also you're taking out the runways and portions that are already leased. Okay. And so we calculate about 1,340-ish acres. Again, some of that though will face things like wetlands challenges and all kinds of different, so this is, we're not even in the baby step of this potential decade-long project, so lots still to determine.
Is it required, or do we believe it's required, that the remaining 1,300 acres be used solely for aviation-related business?
It's FAA property. It's a FAA-conveyed airport, so technically, and obviously we already have 350 acres that are already non-aeronautical related, which are primarily owned by the firm and other smaller organizations that also rent or lease property. So the FAA has permitted that in the past. That obviously, as you know, has been a challenge that we've been working through for the past 2 years that I've been on the board. And so, but we've learned our lesson, and that is to try to emphasize the importance of aeronautical activities being on our property to make sure we get the FAA approvals, and doing it the right way this time, so we can't come back 10 years from now and have the same challenges we've had this year.
Rich, for the sake of, efficiency and simplicity, how could Clay and Branford, collaborate, coordinate another, what's it called? Interlocal agreement, what form
Well, I think
of
in phase
agreement
one,
would it take for Clay and Branford to come together, agree on some common requirements and so on, including taxes, so that every company that comes along doesn't have to go through the same approval process?
so they would have to know what the plan is for phase one before they start communication between the two.
Right.
I mean, at this point, both counties do communicate with each other. There's nothing, an interlocal agreement could solve, because generally, one side or the other is either giving something or agreeing to give up something.
Looking forward, is there some other organizational form? Is there such, like a economic development zone or something that could?
That's what both counties, economic development councils do, and, we have LRDP as well.
Okay.
So, I would imagine they would work together to try to develop incentives that would then have to be approved by one or both county commissions. And I'll skip to the end, legally, they can't waive impact fees. Now, you can provide, the county can provide economic development incentives by way of revenue maximization agreements to rebate or avoid taxes. But impact fees, the whole methodology of how they're put into place is is that when you create an impact on the county, they have to be paid. So there's only statutorily a couple of ways, like affordable housing, that those can be waived. This is not gonna qualify. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing I'd ask, because I've been to several of these presentations with these future potential businesses,
Yes.
is, so I know that, so we have the Northeast Florida Economic Development Group. Amber Shepherd is the strategic salesperson for that.
Yes.
She's the one that has found many of these leads through a variety of ways that she has found them, which has been great, and bring that business to us. And then we have Mr. Crawford Powell, who's over the Clay County Strategic Economic Development. So they both have the same goals, essentially, bringing business ideas for economic growth to our area. And so I guess moving forward is, and I can certainly reach out to Amber and to Crawford, I know we'll see him next week, to add these guys to the invite list for when those meetings are held, so they can go and hear those updates. And then the other thing is, I'm sure you guys, when things get a little closer on this, you'll probably have some kind of a workshop, because you're gonna be just like us, asking all these questions, and you have your own engineer that can give input on, yeah, he's not gonna get that done, right? So I think, you know, just so we know those workshops are happening with these potential new businesses, so we can be sure to be there. I try to be at as many of our airport meetings as possible, because I do think we gain a lot of knowledge when we attend our meetings that you all hold. And it makes us a lot more acquainted with what's happening and feel more comfortable, you know.
Right.
But I know this Rainy.
So I think you were at the,
I was at the one with
you were at the
Coons.
Coons Corp. Were you at when we met with the Rana Group
I
representatives?
couldn't be there that day.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Jamie was though.
That
Yeah.
Jamie was
I
there,
know one
so
of the both
we
of us
try to
there.
invite
Yeah.
you and Jamie, but we can expand the group to include everybody on the
Yeah, I know
council.
it's kind of hard too, because of the time of day sometimes,
Sure,
because
yeah.
you work and you work, you know,
Absolutely.
so it makes, and so does mine.
But yeah, the more the merrier. I mean, and as you've seen from the Coons, Justin Aiken,
It was
he
great,
really
yeah.
appreciated seeing the local government officials and business, leaders and that
And
kind
it's
of
great,
thing.
because we can ask them questions at that time,
Yeah,
it's that
absolutely.
setting, and, you know, I love it, I love the attention, and I continue to say, our airport is gonna become a booming part of our economy moving forward, and it has to really continue to work like a business. And, it's certainly very important with what's happening in our region, for sure.
Yes, ma'am. So, I don't want to belabor my briefing. I'm happy to just answer questions or go through the different topics if you're willing. I also have a couple of, I think, informative videos I'd like to show you, just to give you an idea of where we're going with Camp Landing and the potential for drone and military interface and cooperation.
I can see in videos.
Okay, so why don't we start with the first video?
Is this the right one?
Pardon me?
Is this the right one, Joe?
I think is this it? Okay, play.
The goal is that America becomes so drone
This is Camp Landing's Urban Training Center.
and so drone lethal that nobody wants to go to war with us.
47 human being inside. Then we're heading to the west side of the building. Push it, full security on that side. Clear process.
Putting those teams together, force on force, and seeing who comes out on top.
But as we've learned from Crucible 1, we need to keep things simple.
America become dominant as quickly and safely as possible. Further long range, night ops, a boat in the water, those kind of things, that's complexity we didn't have just a few months ago.
At the end of the day, time and accuracy are the most important things. These are the quick turnarounds we wanted, and that's what we stand for.
This can be a clear hold and repel a counterattack. So it's going to be a direct action mission or raid on a node ahead of the objective.
Make breach and move in together. We secure that room and then securing the objective from there.
And announce that the node is clear and objective is secure. There will more than likely be a QRF that's going to respond, where you will then respond with a drone to neutralize those threats.
Yeah, that was good.
What the teams are going to do is they're going to pack all the charges with C4. They're going to get their M6 electric blasting caps. And they're going to fly 2.5 kilometers. Not just
how fast and how good you can do it one time. It's did you learn from the mistakes and can you improve upon that?
So you see that logo, National Drone Association, that is the organization that is promoting the growth and development of the drone industry into the military fields. That video was what happened in December of this past year. It's called the Drone Crucible. It was the first time ever that all of the military supplied a drone-capable squad to one location to gather their tactics, techniques, and procedures to execute drone strikes. So that's where the military is going, and Camp Landing is kind of a center of excellence for that. After that was done in December, in January, they did a follow-up exercise, which was a drone swarm demonstration. And again, it was the first of its kind in the U.S. military done right right in our county. Go ahead, play.
We're here for a historical moment.
4 drones are going to fly out about 4 kilometers. They're going to engage a 3-tank convoy,
Allowing for multiple vehicles to hit multiple targets simultaneously.
It's such a technological leap that, I mean, it's like going from the Wright brothers to space in 60 years.
I'm not talking just Army or Navy or Air Force. Across all services, our operating system allows for that ease of trainability, ease of flight, and just, train once and you're ready to go.
We finally have the technology to make this affordable and so they can get every warfighter's hands, so you can make any warfighter an absolute deadly
We're taking the next level of autonomy, right? You've got one operator in the field operating many things. We're here to save some lives, right? We're putting capabilities in the hands of the warfighter. Instead of one person to one drone, you've got one operator to many. Once the 3 drones got their pixel up, they went in and did 3 simultaneous strikes. That allows other people around them on their team to continue to fight on the ground while they're given air support.
It's massively important that something like that is something that's never been done in history before. It just goes to show the technological prowess of the country of America. That's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
So this is the future of warfare, our region is right in the center of it, which is why we see at Keystone Heights Airport sharing a boundary with Camp Landing allows us to kind of take those synergies and entice and potentially have drone manufacturers, development, and testing accomplished in our airport vicinity. The USNDA president is a guy named Nate Eckelbarger. We met with him along with Secretary Kelly at the airport about 9 months ago. And at that time we were talking about Florida's interest in being the center of drone development in the entire country. And so because of our weather, because of our terrain, we just have some real strengths that we bring to that effort. So the USNDA, just for the past 10 days at Fort Benning, Georgia, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, was located at that site as they had 25 drone manufacturing companies competing for a $1.1 billion project of developing and fielding 30,000 drones to the U.S. military immediately. So this is a growth industry that is happening as we speak, and we would like to be a part of it. Nate called me last Thursday and asked if we could help him host a drone manufacturer industry day. And so what we are in the process of working through, and I don't have the details worked out yet, but Wednesday the 25th of March, there's going to be 25 more drone manufacturers into Camp Landing to continue what they call a fly-off of demonstrating their drone capabilities and whether which of them will be most competitive for future project bids. So that's going to be happening on the 25th, and don't quote me yet because it's not finalized. They have the final say, not us. But on the Thursday, 26th of March, they were looking for us to potentially host a big tent with about 200 people of these drone manufacturers that will be in town to have an industry day where they can share interests and ideas and way forward. all the details are still being worked out, but I wanted you guys to have early notice of it. We just got notice of it last Thursday, literally, so it's kind of a last-minute plan that they're developing, and it's definitely subject to change. So we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop as we know more about it. We'd love to have you out, potentially even parade some of the vendors through our airport and growth that we have as a potential there. So to see if some of them might be interested in bringing some of their manufacturing business out there. But so there's other things that you guys can read about that we're already in the, I mean, it's all exciting, everything from hydrogen manufacture, generator power to power, electric vertical takeoff and landing. We have a company from Israel that's looking at doing eVTOL, both eVTOL is electric vertical takeoff and land aircraft, and they already started a manufacturing business in West Palm. They want to expand it up to here. It's less busy, less crowded, which is one of the strengths that we bring. There's another company, Aerolane, which is manufacturing gliders to tow along aircraft to increase cargo capacity, both military and civilian application. So really and again, you can read the details in here, but we're working hard. I think I have 5 meetings with these different people over the course of the next month. You're welcome at any time, and I have the dates on there to join us, and if you're available, let me know, and be happy to invite you to participate in any of our meetings. But I had a lot of time already. Any other questions for me?
Since we don't meet again before the 25th or the 26th, and I don't know if you have a budget or anything like that, I would be positively inclined to have a motion to put up some money available to our city manager if he so deems it necessary to help pay for a big tent or something like that to support at least the industry day. I don't know, what do you think?
Is that something we'll need?
I expected the USNDA is going to do that. You know, I don't, as an airport, have the budget to kind of afford those kinds of things, but I appreciate the offer, and we could potentially keep that in mind if it turned out that that was a nut cutter that they could or could not do the event based on whether that was offered. So,
well, and our city manager might not spend anything, but we don't have another chance before this happens. We won't meet again. So I was just trying to think of something that might be used to help.
Appreciate that.
You can let us know what those needs might be, and then we can look at.
Do you feel like you have enough discretionary funds?
Because he's allowed up to 10,000.
Well, I've got up to 10,000 without city council.
Right.
But
Okay.
but if by consensus you're good with, I mean, a certain amount, that at least gives me some backing to take those actions under my authority.
Anything we can support. So I met Nate.
Mhm.
I went to the meeting presentation. It was really quite interesting.
Mhm.
He's under the direction of President Trump. He wants it to be the largest in the world.
Yes.
And he's looking at our location as being the location.
Right.
So it's quite a reward, I think, to be
Absolutely.
in that game, especially with being the proximity to Camp Landing. I actually brought one of the little drones for us to see it. But he really gave an impressive presentation. I know I guess State Secretary Kelly is certainly in favor of it as well. We had those folks there.
And when you think about the growth potential, just to give you an idea, Ukraine right now is building 100,000 drones a month.
And he
in
said
their
that's
war
what's
push.
keeping Russia at bay, is the drones.
And so think about that potential, manufacturing process.
Crazy.
So it's definitely the way of the future, and see if we can be a part of it.
A small number of jobs, but it's high-paying jobs because everything is so automated nowadays. So it's not like we're going to have 50,000 people move to Keystone Heights. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So
Well, and when you look at the Drone America proposal there from Chris Wilbus, the CFO, who we spoke to last week, they're actually talking about building more medium to large scale drones. So you have the handhelds that you saw there, and then you also have some that are the size of a desk, some that are the size of 4 desks.
Yeah.
Those kinds are all potentially part of the arsenal that will be part of the U.S. military for the long run.
Kind of approaching predator size.
Exactly, size of this room, yeah. Now, I'm not saying that any of these companies are looking at that kind of build, but the Drone America guys are definitely talking about medium-sized UASs, which are a lot more than just people, you know, putting together a model airplane.
More U.S. Army style.
Right.
Yeah.
Does the organization promoting this big tent event, do they need any assistance in identifying lodging, for example, or things like that? Is that something North Florida Chamber of Commerce can get involved in?
It's a great question. What they're working with, last we spoke, and they owe us answers from that meeting that I was just talking to Craig today, where they got back with us and they have not, was how much of it they plan to do on camp landing and how much they would like to do on our property. So some of it has to be done on camp landing
Scope it first.
because we don't want to interfere with airplane operations, and depending on what they want to demonstrate, not demolish, they may want to decide where they move their operations. So we figured at least the industry day is something we can host, and they don't have to worry about getting people on and off the base, which is a bit of a pain for a lot of civilians. So then we're offering our assistance and participation. So.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yes. Appreciate it.
Any questions, you guys hopefully know how to get a hold of me. If you don't,
Yeah.
ask the mayor or the city manager,
Yeah.
they can reach me anytime.
Make sure they get back to
Okay.
this and about this. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I've already sent out this document to the city council and all. We'll also add it and attach it to the meeting minutes so that folks who are watching have access to it.
It's very exciting. All right, we're going to move on to action items. The first is City Ordinance 2026-618, public hearing, smoking, vaping ordinance, second reading. And can I get you to read that by title for me, Mr.
Madam Mayor, you need a
Hernandez?
motion to read it by title.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance number 2026-618, an ordinance of the city of Keystone Heights, Florida, amending the code of ordinances to prohibit smoking and vaping in city parks, specifically Chapter 9, General Regulations, Article 3, City Recreational Parks, Section 9-77, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. At this time, Madam Mayor, if you would open a public hearing.
Do we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Ms. Valencia Johnson.
Good evening, council members. My name is Valencia Johnson, and my address is on file. I'm a junior at Orange Park High School and member of SWAT, a student working against tobacco. I would like to first thank the leaders of Keystone Heights for taking a huge step in protecting youth against secondhand smoke exposure. Tobacco is the #1 leading preventable cause of death in America, claiming the lives of 480,000 people each year. I shared with the council last year that one of those people was my grandmother, who in 2020 lost her battle with COPD due to her tobacco use. While this is an extremely sad and hard reality for me, it is not to be for anyone else. In Clay County, 64% of youth are exposed to secondhand smoke, making it higher than the state average of 58%. I thought it would be important to mention that secondhand smoke kills 41,000 people per year in America. This ordinance protects the health and well-being of children wanting to enjoy a day at the park. It protects the environment from tobacco litter, which is the most common form of litter on parks. It is protecting all residents, visitors, and employees of the city of Keystone Heights. I thank you all for your time and consideration for the overall health and safety of Keystone.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the city ordinance 2026-618, smoking and vaping ordinance?
I would motion to approve, but do we have to motion to close the public hearing first or no?
You don't have to move, it's just operationally closed. So if there's a motion to approve the ordinance,
Okay, then I make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for making the drive down here this evening as well. I know that's a little bit of.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Okay, so next, item 21 is Keystone Heights Airport Authority Board Seat number 4. We have 2 applicants, Ryan Bigu and Brian Stewart. Are either one of you gentlemen here tonight? Yes, Pastor Bigu. Yes. You want to take just a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
How pronounce your name?
Yeah, well,
It-
everybody in my family says it different, depending on which household of the family you live in. So, but you is fine. Yeah. Just real quick, I want to tell the young lady here that she did such a good job of selling it. But yesterday, there was a large group of people that I know that were picking up trash throughout town, and every single person with a trash bag said 90% of what I picked up are cigarette butts.
Yeah. I believe it.
So I think that that obviously is. I can't imagine what it's been like in the 70s. But yeah, so my name is Ryan McGee, and I have lived in the Keystone Heights area now for 7 years as of this week. And I was brought home from the hospital into Clay County, grew up in the Lake Asbury area, and I've always had ties down here because of family. And so I love my area, I love my community. Last time I was in here, as a matter of fact, the mayor and the city, the council was recognizing our golf team that I helped coach. And so anyway, the city means a lot to me, and the whole community does. So when I first heard about the opportunity, I was excited because for me, there was a lot of vested interest in things that I'm personally interested in. I've got 16 hours of solo flight time. It's been a long time, but I have my student pilot's license. Then in 2011, I was the Forester of the Year for Holmes County, Florida, and I noticed that was part of the application, was wanting to know about interest and background of forestry. So environmental stewardship is something that's always been important to me. So I had a family farm out in the Panhandle that we were tree farmers. So I bought the property in 2004, and we lived on it. We had 118 acres, and the vast majority of it was in planted pines. So I worked with the forestry department, and also not just in the harvesting, if you will, and the growth of the timber, but we put together environmental basically plans for the property because we had a really nice creek running through it. So for me, one of the things that I can envision out there with the property that we have now, especially with the wetlands area, is, you know, there are opportunities, I think, for educational things with youth and things through the Forestry Department, through the Florida Wildlife Commission that we can do, which would be very, you know, hands-on, kind of a way to connect. For me, I have a lot of kids. I have 5 kids. 3 are grown, but I still have 2 that are here. And obviously, my interaction with so much of the youth, helping with the football team for several years as one of the coaches at the high school with the golf team. You often hear as the kids that are going off to college, man, there's just not a lot of good jobs in the area. And so with aviation, generally, those are good paying jobs. Listening to the general, I'm not sure that, I don't know, for me, I'm like, wow, that guy is a deep well. And so one of the things for me, though, is that if we can attract solid aviation jobs to our community, there's going to be great jobs for a lot of young people in our area. Most of the better paying jobs, if you will, if you don't work for Clay Electric or you don't own a business here in town, you're having to drive to Gainesville. So those are just some things that interest me, perk my attention, and I think I would be able to help out a lot. And I feel like that I have a pretty good beat on the community. There's always more to learn. But so that's what I have to share.
You don't have any questions?
No. Do you anticipate any of your work, any of your church work and other volunteer work would interfere with, in any way with the airport authority meeting attendance or workshops?
I wouldn't plan on it, but you know, I mean, I wouldn't expect it because I know obviously there's I believe it's a Tuesday night meeting once a month.
Yes.
And then I think the other stuff, you know, you kind of do, you fit in and out through your schedule as I think most of the other people do. So, you know, I think that for me, we don't have anything on Tuesday nights related to our church. So for those of you who don't know, I pastor the First Baptist Church here in town. But, you know, I'm sure there's going to be times where I have a sick kid or something out of the ordinary. So I certainly, you know, I'm sure other people in the council miss at times for different things. But my goal would obviously to be faithful and to attend it and be a part of it. So that's good. That's a good question.
Any questions for me? Okay.
Thank you.
Remember, I do not believe Mr. Stewart was able to be in attendance.
Okay. Can I get a motion to make a vote? Or make a proposed,
Propose a.
Yeah.
It's a motion for appointment.
It's a motion to appoint, and then
Okay.
state the
motion
name.
to appoint?
I move that we appoint Ryan Bagoo for seat 4 on the airport authority.
I would second that motion.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome, Mr. BU.
Well, I hope that I benefit, and I'm always the first guy to say that in the day that you're like, you know what, it's time for you to go, y'all just tell me.
I'm kind of like that too.
Well, I think, obviously when you do things like this, or what you do, you're not doing it because it's gonna really pad your retirement by any means.
Right.
That's correct. All right.
Thank you for volunteering.
Yes, thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch my
Appreciate
boys'
it.
baseball game across the street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, item 22.
Is that appointment is effective today?
No, it's May.
Hey, first
Effective May 1st.
board meeting in May.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, got it, thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, item 22 is for Keystone Heights Airport Authority Board clay seat appointment. And we have 4 applicants. Let's see, where's my other sheet here?
Madam Mayor, I can jump in. First on our list is, well, at least on our list was Mr. Fryer.
Right,
I have it.
yeah, I've got it in there. Yes, Mr. Scott Fryer? Yeah, I have to read it.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, city staff, attorney, and distinguished members of the public. The airport has been my passion since the age of 14 years old, where I started washing airplanes for airplane rides. I probably have the most knowledge of anybody currently on the board of the geography of the airport, the history of the airport, bad things I did at the airport that I won't share as a kid or a teenager. I love the airport with every fabric of my being, or every thread of my being. With that said, each year in the last 4 years, I have spent time riding a John Deere tractor, avoiding egrets and crows, eating grasshoppers, mowing, helping staff with the day-to-day activities. I feel like I was a big part, not the only part, of helping Craig Kuhn transition into a new unfamiliar airport, introducing him to tenants and different elements of our airport. We have a special airport, and it'll always hold a special part of my heart because it's just been such a big part of my life. My family has owned property since 1959 in the area, and then we moved down full-time from Jacksonville in 1972. However, I'll say this. I have been on the board. This June will be 11 years. I got on in June of 15. I have served under 3 chairmen, including the current chairman. I was vice chairman, I think, for 5 or 6 years, and have had personal accomplishments. Some of the things, for instance, were getting with the airport manager then, Maria Searcy, to see what we could do to put street lights down Airport Road to light it up at night. Other things for the 70th anniversary, the 80th anniversary of the airport. And I just have a deep love and passion for that. But I'm gonna throw you a curveball right now. And I'm ashamed that I didn't look at the agenda earlier. But as the mayor has said, doesn't seem like you can get anybody for city council, but everybody wants to be on the airport. And this is a fact. And we have a really good group. We've gone through a lot of changes. We had a number of members that were like myself that had a tenure that was extended, and then suddenly we started this rotation. And it's almost, I'm gonna say, I think Chair Kirkland has been on there 14 years, is that correct? 17, wow, he's the old man, he's got me really beat. But anyway, I wanna tell you something, and I hope it doesn't upset anybody. I didn't read the agenda until this weekend, but I didn't realize there was this many applicants for the Clay County seat. It is a seat that offers opportunity for a person to participate from anywhere in Clay County. I've been privileged to be on this board. I love it. I've loved working with the city. I thank the city council, this one seated here, and prior city council members, staff that we've had over the years, the different city managers, for the opportunity to serve. But I think what I want to do at this time is I would like to rescind my application. I think it's the right thing to do. It breaks my heart, part of it does, but I can't stay there forever. It's selfish to do that. So at this time I would like to rescind, and if I need to follow that up with an email so that you have a documented record of it, I will do so
Your
tomorrow.
statements.
Okay. But thank you for the opportunity to serve. I think you have 3 other very viable candidates, and I'll do my duty right on up until the meeting in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate
Okay.
everything you've done for
Yeah.
Scott. But Mayor, before we move forward, I would like to make a comment. Scott, I know you've done a lot out there over the years, from social media to many of you guys may remember there was a pretty serious accident that took place at our airport this fall. And I know Scott was out there, one of the people handling and responding. So I want to thank you for your time that you've spent on the board, as well as former Chairman Kirkland. Thank you for your time as well. Thank you guys for, it's a lot of work, and it's been a lot of work the last couple of years especially, but thank you guys for your time and your service. It is very much appreciated. That is all.
Thank you very much. Well said. So we have 3 other applicants. LaTanya Peterson, is she here? Not here?
I'm sorry?
LaTanya Peterson, not here?
Oh, no ma'am.
Okay. Brad, I'm sorry if the name is incorrect here. Hooks, Brad Hooks?
Yeah, Grant.
Grant. I don't know, it just says board.
Grant
That's right.
That's Mr. Hook's board application, that's how the
okay.
name.
So you're getting the names
It's
mixed up.
you're looking at the.
Sorry.
I would have put more details if I knew the city manager was gonna copy paste. I realized that was exactly how I saved it.
Oh my goodness, okay. So Grant, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council and staff. My name is Grant Hooks. I've been at the Keystone Heights Airport since approximately 2017, when I started recreationally flying out of there, and professionally since about 2019, when I started Distinguished Flyers, my current flight school, and what I operate out of the Keystone Heights Airport. Some of the people on the board I know definitely know me, know who I am, and have had the privilege of working together in the past. I would like, before I get too much into myself, I would like to recognize Mr. Scott Fryer. I did not want to run against him. This is the only seat that I qualify for because I live. I did. I gave him a heads up. I live on the other side of Clay County, and I commute daily 35 miles each way to be at Keystone Heights Airport for multiple reasons. It's the only public airport in Clay County. I love this airport. I've come to love this city and love the airport and the people of this airport. I've operated out of other airports that are much closer to my house and some that weren't closer to my house, and nothing's like our airport. And there's times where I can tell you, me and Scott have been in hangar discussions, and our passion for the airport runs over because we both love it so much. And we always come back together and hug it out. A few years ago, I actually considered running for that seat, but I did not want to run against Mr. Fryer because of his expertise, knowledge, and history with the airport.
So that's huge. I commend him. I have voiced before at the airport level that I wish we could do an administrative change, and Mr. Fryer absolutely qualifies for a city seat. He lives, a stone's throw away. But that we kind of, for what I was told, that avenue was researched, and it wasn't going to be as simple as just an administrative change without having to resign and then run for another seat. So I stand before you now to let you know my package. I did 22 years in the Navy as a United States Naval Air Crewman on P-3s and then P-8 aircraft. I retired as a E-8 Senior Chief Petty Officer. When I wasn't flying, I was in operations, writing the daily flight schedule and doing the black magic, so to speak, for the daily flight schedule for each day for somewhere between 4 to 12 aircraft in a squadron and up to 300-something flight crew. Over the years, I went to Pensacola, spent 4 years in the classroom environment, teaching air crewmen how to track submarines. Again, more black magic. It's an art, and I really missed the flying piece of that, but it was awesome being able to teach. So once I got to Jacksonville and I got off active duty in 2017, moved into a reserve role, that's when I then showed up at Keystone Heights. I got finished all my flight ratings, got certified flight instructor out of FSCJ's flight program at Cecil, which is the closest airport to my house, and found my way down to Keystone, where I blended my love of flying and my love of teaching into one. Mr. Lewandowski was a part of a stand-up program through QI Roberts in Putnam County to bring aviation to the students at no cost to them. And it went from, I think our first year we were able to do 4 hours for each student through their own fundraising. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's about right, 3 to 4 hours.
And this year, through grants and the program growing and the footwork that he started, these kids we're gonna finish some through private pilot this year at no cost to them. It's amazing. We just did our first night flights the last couple weeks of training. I've soloed almost all of them that are under my echelon this year. We also have a flight school at Palatka because the program's grown so much. But it all started out of QI Roberts, which is a Putnam County school, but Keystone Heights Airport. And it's doing way more than I ever imagined it would, and it's really rewarding, and I love seeing it. So that's my background. I'm at the airport 5-6 days a week. When that accident happened, I was the one that called Scott because I witnessed it. I tried calling 911, and their fire was already on the way. And next person was I just went down a chain in my head. Called the airport manager, then I called Scott, and then the word started spreading. But we're both very, very, very involved in the airport. We both love it. I've been working in the background a lot through workshops, attending some of the board meetings, and daily complaining in a constructive way to the airport manager. So I actually learned to fly in Hawaii, got my private in Hawaii in 2008, did some flying in Pensacola through the Navy Flying Club there, and I was the president of our local Experimental Aircraft Association chapter for a couple years because, quite frankly, the old guys they liked my energy, and they voluntold me to be the president of our chapter. But it was a good growth, and it was a good development, and I really enjoyed it. And so here I am before you now, requesting to be in the Clay County seat for the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Any questions for me?
So I would just ask one, similar to what Vice Mayor Welch had asked earlier. I know you mentioned you are at the airport 5 to 6 days a week. Is your evening time commitment continue to work with? I'm sure you're well aware of their meeting schedule. Does that continue to work with yours as well?
It does work for me, and I attend a fair amount of the meetings as is. I'm there a lot. So it actually does. Yeah, it's not bad. It's one night a month, and it fits our schedule.
You have any questions?
No, I have some general comments when we're done with all the individuals, but no, I know Mr. Hooks very well. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have Miss Susan Drago.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and city council members, and city staff. My name is Susan Drago, and I am requesting to be considered for the Clay County seat for the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. I am not a pilot. I have been a registered nurse since 1970 and a former CPA. I have spent the last 21 years of my work life working in a hospital in Green Cove Springs. It's a specialty hospital for patients on life support. I spent the last 11 years as the CEO of that hospital. I just retired 6 weeks ago. Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings, Thursdays, none of those days is a problem for me. So why am I here? I said I'm not a pilot. My husband, John, is. We have been married for 33 years, known each other for 38 years. When John got into flying, being a nurse, flying with him, I thought, the guy has a heart attack, I'm going to land this plane. And so I did take lessons from a CFII. I did not ever get a license, but I did do the ground school and did fly. I was blessed. At the time we lived in St. Johns County. I ran for and I was elected to the St. Augustine Airport Authority. I was endorsed by the St. Augustine Record as the dark horse candidate because I wasn't a pilot, and at the time there was a lot of discord on the airport authority. First year I served as the secretary, and the following 3 years as the chairperson, first lady on the airport authority. During that time, we were fortunate enough to bring some very powerful tenants to the airport. Those that were already there were Northrop Grumman, Ringhaver, the U.S. Coast Guard. We had a beautiful new FBO. The second floor was vacant. We were able to secure a tenant to open a restaurant. It was the Flyby Cafe. It has since changed. There's a new one there now. There was a lot of communication during my 4-year tenure about bringing a commuter, because the World Golf Village was just being built. We were not successful in that endeavor until later on a commuter did come. I want to thank General Eifert for bringing such an incredible report. For me, that has excited me more about being on this authority because I envision great forward growth for this airport. It is a general aviation airport, but there are nearly 1,000 acres unused. I brought myself up to speed by meeting with Mr. Kuhn and getting a copy of the master plan so that I could understand what projects are currently underway and what yet needs to be done. That master plan is the updated one, excuse me, discusses a slight decline in general aviation, with the increase being in light aircraft. I see a great opportunity at this airport for economic growth. Would love the opportunity to be part of it if you so deem. If you choose Mr. Hooks instead, I think you'd make a great choice as well. But I would certainly love the opportunity to be selected. If you do choose me, I will come fully prepared to all of the meetings and prepared to support the growth of the airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you all have any questions for Ms. Drago?
She answered the question I was going to ask, which was the same thing about time commitment, so thank you for that.
I had all the time in the world. I'm a free woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I say one more thing from back here real quick, 30 seconds?
Yeah, we're done 30 seconds.
I'm shooting for 8 now. Come on.
And nothing against you, but when Mr. Hooks tells you he's very involved and he lets us know about things that are broken at the airport, he called me on the phone one day and said there's an Allen wrench. Do you all know what an Allen wrench is?
Yeah.
It's like a bent piece of wire, you know what I'm talking about. And he was in the airplane flying, and he said it's on the runway. And I said, where at on the runway? And I couldn't find it with a Ford pickup truck. So he's got eagle eyes, and he will let the board know anything that's wrong with that airport. That's all I've got to say.
Okay.
So we have.
Can I, before we decide, there's an unspoken thing that's gone on here. And that is that Mr. David Kirkland, his term is up. And he has not put in to continue. And he's been there for 17 years. And just like we've recognized Mr. Fryer for his accomplishments, for his dedication and his volunteering at the airport, I think we need to do the same for Mr. Kirkland. And I don't want that to be missed while we can do that. And I just want to say thank you.
Madam Mayor, it's on the agenda, but I think we need to add some resolutions for these, something from the city for them. If you would entertain that down the road.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
Listen, I greatly appreciate your service to the airport. It's a huge commitment and it's a big job. It's not a part-time job. I know I've seen David at many things, at the state level and even at the county level especially. But your leadership, David, has been amazing. I've just known you really for the last 3 years essentially. But, and you too, Scott, you guys have just done amazing work. And, you know, it's a full-time job, you know, and I mean, I don't think I could do this if I was working full-time personally. I mean, the amount of time that you should devote to it is hard, and the folks here that are working, it's a balancing act. I mean, it's gotta be really hard. So thank you so very much. I will look into that. Thank you so much for that, Ryan. So before we vote, did you all have any other questions?
I think I have a comment or two.
Sure.
You know, sometimes when we arrive at these votes, it's obvious that there's one candidate above the others who, you know, it's obvious from kind of a fiduciary perspective for someone that we should pick. I think we have a problem here tonight, and it keeps running through my mind. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but we don't have enough seats. We don't have enough seats on the board. We need more space because we have several candidates here who are highly qualified, where I really feel like either way I'm doing injury to myself by picking between them. And I mean that. And so I think I'm going to share that with both of you and the public. And maybe that's something we do need to revisit given the scope of what's been talked about here tonight. It is an enormous amount of work, and since I don't really want to get into the board's business that way or suggest anything, but this is a vote tonight that, let me just say crystal clear, this is one that it is not easy. And so, because the obvious work of someone who can kick out a wrench on a runway, that's not a skill set you can define on paper. There are certain things that you can, and we can't replace the collective knowledge of either Mr. Fryer or Mr. Kirkland either. That's not replaceable. But both our candidates have great knowledge of themselves, and since my wife was once upon a time an ICU nurse, I do. You got to watch those conscious sedation drugs. Be careful around them. You know, I do understand that. So I think I want to say that about it, and I want everyone here to know that this is not a vote against or for one over the other. I wish we had another seat, and we would just put you both in those seats this evening to help out with the work, because I don't know tonight that we were able to do the right thing necessarily by selecting one over the other, but I shall try my best.
Between two candidates, between two very qualified candidates, I'd like to talk about. I don't think we can do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm just mentally going through the seating chart, if you will, of the board meetings I've been to. And I count 4 pilots, is that right?
What are you referring to the people that are currently on the board?
Yeah.
Several pilots, but who knows an airport better than pilots?
Well,
It's nice to have some mix.
I understand, and I guess that's where I'm going, is, it's good to have a mix of skills and experience. Forestry came to mind, and just throw that out there. On the one hand, it's good to be acquainted with aviation. At the same time, it's good to have other perspectives as well. And,
Well, another thing, if I may say this, General Eifert and Colonel Barney have both sold their F-15s. So technically, they don't have airplanes or anything.
I see.
I think
So you
Uncle
can't-
Sam gave them those and said, "This is your retirement."
I see.
One thing that.
Good point.
One thing that I might suggest as an outgoing incumbent, every board member serves at the pleasure of this council. They've already expanded, prior councils have expanded the area out that you could be a city seat.
Okay, eligibility. Yeah.
But why don't you in the future look at just expanding out in general, because anybody you pick, you can remove. One might say, because you've got a population here, roughly 1,400 people in the city limits. So you've expanded that out, but of that, how many people have interest in aviation? There are so many people that we've been amazed by that don't even know that there's an airport at Keystone Heights. But when you start getting out a little bit further to the peripheries where pilots from possibly Hurlong or people that have skill sets in business administration or whatever that might live just outside of your reach, that may be something to consider. Not right now, but down the road.
That's something we struggled with as we talked about the area of eligibility before. And I think.
Well, I think that, first of all, we have some incredibly talented folks in the zip code, period. I mean, look at the folks we've added to planning and zoning and to our Heritage Commission. So this is not a dilemma that it's gonna go away. I think we're gonna continue. I'm just so thrilled that we have the interest, because there are a lot of cities that have challenges with getting folks to be interested. And right now, I think we have to identify the best person for right now. For me, I feel like with, as General Eifert shared, our growth is absolute. I think it's gonna happen. And I think we need to be looking at the future, another position out there. Maybe it's not on the board, but it's maybe someone in Craig's world that is a future business person that sees things and assists with those things, who has that view and that eye, to bring that. Because I know we have our engineer, but it's a little different when you got a business planner person mentality. I do see something like that happening out there with what you shared with us tonight. That's just my thought about it, the situation.
I like the sound of that.
If I might share my experience, Mr. Hooks has supported the aviation program with my students every year that I ran it. And my students had a choice. They could either solo down at the Palatka Airport or they could solo with Mr. Hooks at the Keystone Heights Airport. And every single student chose Mr. Hooks. His combination of aircraft knowledge, his firmness for their safety, and making sure that they made solid decisions regarding aviation, made them feel comfortable. And he never let anyone solo if they weren't truly ready, mentally as well as academically. And so, from a flying perspective, Mr. Hooks is just outstanding. He's an asset to our airport, he's an asset to our community. He teaches students proper manners, respect, what you have to succeed. And I will say though, Miss Drago makes me beg the question, what child do I like better? I mean, they're both my favorite children. How do you pick one over the other? They are both extremely qualified. And, so I'm with you, Councilman. This is stuff. The only light that I see down this tunnel is that this is the year of our charter review committee. And so this could be on the charter review, and we could add a seat.
If I could add to my comments, I look at, thinking about the airport board and knowing we've got just 5 seats right now. I feel like we need to look at a person that can bring the broadest perspective and support the board looking ahead for growth.
We have 7 seats, don't we?
5 city seats.
5 city seats.
Two additional
Okay.
counties. 7 total.
But anyway, that's my only point, is I think being a good pilot or engineer or whatever else you think about associated with airport operations, I'm thinking more along the lines of who can assist, who can contribute to the board as we look forward.
This is tough.
What was the time frame again? It's not totally germane to selection, but I have a question for General Offord. I think maybe that only he can answer. Let's just say that tomorrow morning you get a call, they want to come out to that facility and they want to set up operations there based on the business development presentation you presented. What's the fastest timetable? And here we saw 10 years. Does it speed up? Could it speed up to 3 to 5 years, to 7 years? How fast could they really go if they wanted to go faster?
How fast could who go?
The companies, like this group and others that want to come out there?
They have different.
Yeah, how fast could they really go if some of the regulations got waived, other things happen? How
Well, it
fast?
depends on what they want to do, so.
Okay, but let's just say that are we talking like 5 years, 3 to 5 years?
I think Coons Aviation will be out there this year.
Okay.
Like months, right? I know what he said.
Yeah.
Coons. Aviation.
Coons, okay.
Yeah, I think Coons will be established, this year.
Okay.
I would expect if they, so they're building their plan for the Santa Fe College training part of their academy. And then the next step will be bringing an airplane in to handle the CDAR, the crash damage disabled aircraft recovery portion, the hands-on portion of it. They've already identified a spot. They actually favor the Clay County side where there's already a platform in place to be able to place their Airbus on there to be able to be lifted and trained hands-on. And so I would envision they submit probably within the next month the lease checklist to us, and I think we could have that finalized this year, for sure.
I just wanted to really frame that in my mind because I think we've got 2 things at once here that need to be addressed. The short term, and then we've got a little bit longer term, and we've got 2 different skill sets that we need, both at the same time but in different ways. Yeah, if you understand what I'm saying. All right, thank you.
Any more comments?
No, none for me, thanks.
Brandon?
It's, as everyone else on this dais has said, it is a very tough decision. You have 2 incredibly qualified applicants. I know before I've applied for boards and at the county level, not at the city level, and it's very challenging and nerve-wracking. So first of all, thank you both of you guys for putting your names up. I know it's a process. You take time, you do a lot of research before you're even willing to put your name out there. So first of all, thank you for doing that in the first place. Second of all, I absolutely echo the sentiments of everyone here. And I'll actually go even further and say, whatever the outcome tonight, my vote tonight will be the toughest vote I have had my 3 months of serving on city council. So that should say something. Because you guys are all immensely qualified, and it's very tough. I do understand and kind of echo the sentiments from Vice Mayor Welch of there is a lot that is going on out there right now, a lot that we're looking at towards future development. And as we look into those things, I think that is something we need to be very cognizant of being aware of making sure, you know, when we're dealing with some of these larger companies, and we looked at the massive investment possibly from the company that's from the United Arab Emirates. And I think right now, with so much possibility coming in, we've got to be able to evaluate that on every cylinder and taking that broader approach. And so that's kind of my comments, and I will leave it at that at this time.
So how do we handle this next?
Someone's gotta make a motion.
Gotta make a motion then.
Make a motion for Wendy.
And to appoint one of them to the board.
Right. Well, I will move that we appoint Ms. Drago to the Airport Authority Board.
Can I get a second?
I will second that motion.
Any comments?
I will, as my typical custom is in this setting, I will be voting most likely with the majority, and I think you probably know why I asked General Eifert the question I asked. Way before even Mr. Booth was city manager, I told the previous city manager, I know much about it. I'm not an airport person. I don't fly planes. I like the ground. You know, if somebody makes a mistake up in the air, I may not walk away, but on the ground I can, you know, kiss it, crawl, do all kinds of things. That having been said, the airport is our biggest resource. It has tremendous implications for here, the ports, the country, and we want to see that to be successful. And so we have to act with that interest in mind, but also I think we need to look collectively at maybe finding more roles in more ways for the people here who have been brought forward tonight to serve, and not just lip service. We need to follow it up without getting involved in the airport board's business in a way that's tangible if we can do so. And that, I don't know if we can do that or not, but I will certainly be voting with that in mind this evening. But it does, this is a situation that after this vote, I think needs further action quickly.
I would agree with that. Absolutely.
Well, heck, we need 3 people to replace Scott Fryer and all he does.
That's true. You know, you're the reason the city council meetings run long, and I'm the reason the airport meetings run long. So they want to see both of us go.
Yeah, they do.
Haven't heard anything truer said.
All in favor for Mrs. Drago?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome aboard, Mrs. Drago.
Congratulations.
Mr. Hooks, I am so happy that you came forward. I'm glad, I know I've seen you at the meetings, I just didn't know who you were. But certainly appreciate everything you do all the way around with the community. And I'm sure at some point in time, we're gonna come up with a plan, just like the guy said. Because with the amount of growth we have right now, the business side of things is really kind of crazy. And General Eifert and Craig have got this just bombarding them right now, it's a lot. And I think with Mrs. Drago's business mind and savvy and experiences, it will bring a new light to the group. And that's certainly what I think we have here with our council, is such a variety of experiences that I think that creates a really great synergy, fresh ideas and eyes. So certainly, sir, thank you so very much. And Mrs. Drago, congratulations
I
again.
really want to thank you all very much. And I'll add one thing, if it gives some further support for my business-minded brain that I have. The hospital that I have worked for is a specialty hospital, as I said. Patients don't just come to that hospital. They need to be referred by Mayo, St. Vincent's Baptist for a longer length of stay to try to get patients off of life support. As part of my role as the CEO, I spent a great deal of time doing business development. Hate to talk about business when you're talking about patients, but we are a business. And I had to spend a lot of time with the C-suites of different hospitals to encourage them to use my hospital versus the competitor. I take this role very seriously to be on the airport. We have done nothing but talk for the almost a year and a half that he's had a hangar there.
thank you for your willingness to serve. And Grant, thank you for your name and service.
Thank you.
As well as your involvement and service to the airport. You've been a busy guy.
Yes.
Well, I'm also gonna thank Scott.
Yeah.
It was difficult for you to rescind your application, and if you had been next to, that would have made this really difficult. So thank you for making it less difficult.
Well, when I saw the applications you had, I knew it would be difficult, and the other party wasn't here apparently, so, but it was time. And again, thank you all for the support of the years, so.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 23, Charter Review Commission, Mr. Booth.
Madam Mayor, I have fed. So, simply put, we need 5 members for the Charter Review Commission. We have 2 applicants that I actually need to apologize to. So, both Dr. Zeeser and Dr. Robbins applied, both are board members for the Planning and Zoning Board. After discussions with Rich, I know that they are ineligible to the state's no dual office holding requirements. And so I should have been aware of that and let them know when they filed. But what I would say, they're not here tonight, but I appreciate their volunteerism to be willing to step up to the bat yet again to another sunshine body. God bless them.
Yeah,
And they can still participate as far as, so if the Charter Review Committee takes public comment, and in the past, we do have other Heritage Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission members that come up and actually provide some input to that group.
Awesome. Rich, does that exclusion apply to spouses as well?
Yes.
Well, not the dual office holding, no. There may be another
Oh, you're saying
section
that they
of
have to,
it.
but I know Dave can't, I know, right?
Right, so the issue is that whatever comes out of charter review then has to come to you to be passed along to the ballot.
So, yeah, that's what
I wouldn't want to tell my spouse no when it gets to me, so could create a conflict.
Oh, come on. Okay, so we're just gonna put it back out and just asking us to seek out people that live in the city limit who could be available. I know you gave us a nice schedule, and I think it's an education thing, and I'll certainly go around maybe to the women's club, and I know Jen, you're in the women's club. Share it with them. I mean, I'll be glad to come talk to them about it, because there's a lot of them that live in the city. Some of the clubs, like Rotary Club, might be one that we can ask. Folks, we just, I don't know, we just need to reach out and see if we can find someone who would want to do it.
Jamie, I believe you had a recommendation as well that was in that agenda item.
So, my recommendation is that each city council member go out and beat the bushes and come up with a couple of candidates. I would prefer if you saw those candidates through actually putting in applications. But my recommendation is to keep the window open instead of me saying we'll close it in another month and then bring it in front of you. I think we just keep it open until we have at least five applications of valid members, and then after that point, I'll bring you the candidate slate to the city council the month after we get 5 total or more.
So I did approach one person. They are prohibited via health concerns from being on the charter review. So I've already approached one. I've got 2 others I'm actively talking to. One of the 2 candidates that did submit, I had reached out to as well and asked them to. Of course, at that time, we did not know whether or not they would be prohibited from serving. So I'm actively seeking. I would like to, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I'd like to, you mentioned the women's club. I would like to see one of our school teachers, preferably that has children here in town at the local school. I think that would be very good to add to the mix, because, what we're talking about often affects their daily life. And they know and see the parents. We were at a school event last week, and seeing the people that you live with, that you interact with, that kind of knowledge on a day-to-day basis, I think would be very helpful as they read through our Constitution, if you will, as to what we do when we do and how we do it.
Okay, good idea.
I have also reached out to somebody as well. They were supposed to turn in their application. It doesn't sound like they did on time. So I will be having another conversation with this person. They might be watching tonight. I'll be on you next time. But to what you mentioned, Councilman, there actually are a couple that I know of that live in city limits. One of them I emceed an event with on Saturday night up at the high school, Miss Sally Jackson. She would be phenomenal.
Good.
If she applied. I believe she's over. I believe she's in city limits. Another one who's extremely involved with the high school, Miss Pam Saxon. I know many of you guys in this room probably know her. I think either one of them would be phenomenal ones in the vein of you know what you're looking for if you would end up reaching out to those two, because I can't tell you that after this. So, but
Well, if you
either
go
one would be
with them,
phenomenal.
I had 2 other teachers, but go with those.
Oh,
Should I go with them, yeah?
Go for them
That's-
both.
no other comment
You're
from me.
not limited to one.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so we'll just hold it and just kind of keep looking.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think we got consensus.
Right.
You gotta beat the bushes.
Keep bushes, got it. All right, next is item 24, and you want to do that to the next meeting?
Well, Madam Mayor, actually, I'll just, Rich did some education for me today as well. And so I've spoken separately with some of you about this issue. What we do see is within the city, and I'll bring it up here in a second, that we've got some of our ordinances that are being violated in several different areas in general with vehicles that are parked, either particularly derelict vehicles, non-operational vehicles that aren't licensed. Our code basically says that shouldn't be in residential areas. It makes sense for it to be in a business that does that type of repair, but it doesn't make sense for that to be in front of residential houses. Those should be predominantly enclosed structures. I'm not using the right word. But all by our ordinances also, RVs, motorhomes should not be in the front yard. Boats, by our ordinance, not in the front yard. Trailers, not in the front yard. They should be back either on either side of the building, behind the front of the main building line to the city street. And so that's being violated quite a bit. What I was going to bring to y'all was just to get consensus on kind of going into making sure we're enforcing that properly. What Rich made sure I understood was that our city is a complaint-based type of code enforcement. And so we don't proactively go out and look for one particular issue and then issue 100 notice violations. So just in general, the citizens need to understand if they're seeing something that they think is outside of code, they would need to report that to our code enforcement, and then we will take appropriate action at that point. So for me, a little bit of education, but in general, I think we do need to talk about what is within our city code, what's allowable, what's not, but then the process. We're talking about a public and how somebody could, if they're having concerns with it, bring that before the city. And then I don't think we need to bring that up next month.
Okay, got it.
So I do have one long question on that, and that would be, any situation that's something like this, and Rich, you can probably speak to it a little bit better than I can. I'm assuming there's no, how do I put it, variances possible, if that makes sense. So, for example, like, the reason I say this is there's a property that's on, I can speak of Grove Street, that it's right on the corner. So the camper would technically be the side yard, but if you're on the road that's facing that house, it's the front yard, if that makes sense. And so how does that apply to those who are on corner lots like that? Because it would technically be front yard from that perspective.
So our code actually speaks to that issue, and there's different criteria as to what's considered the front yard when you abut 2 different streets.
Okay.
So
would that, for example, a camper that's parked there, would that be appropriate, or is that gonna get somebody in trouble?
So probably somebody in trouble if you're seeing it. Generally, the concept is that boat, RV, camper can be parked behind the house, usually behind the fence, so that it's out of sight. This is the concern.
And then I guess my question would be, I know in the county they've done variances for things. Is there a variance process for the city for something along those lines?
So along those lines, I need to talk to you a little bit more about specifics. Generally speaking, a variance is from a zoning regulation that deals with a characteristic of the property. Because as you go through zoning criteria, one of those criteria is you can't seek a variance for a problem of your own making. I don't know how you would overcome that element of seeking a variance.
No, and that's fine. I just didn't know if the city had a process, because I did, after we discussed it earlier this week, I had kind of driven around, and frankly, there's quite a few of these that need to see some code enforcement. Nightingale. But there are some that I believe will end up being, I mean, it's true, there's people running a repair service out of their front yard, and that's not fair to the neighbors. It's gonna damage your property values. But there are also some that might be unintended impacts of this, that you might have a mad neighbor that files a complaint against you. And so that's where, like I said, I just kind of want to have it cognizant, not that anybody's going to, but there's 2 or 3 that kind of are weird situation lots that I just wanted to kind of, so I'll get with you on that offline. I just wanted to ask, since it's a public forum, that's all that I have.
Sure. So generally speaking, we have opted for a reactive code enforcement versus proactive code enforcement because it saves you a lot of phone calls. What happens is when governments go down the path of proactive code enforcement, there are complaints that their city is turned into an HOA. It is not looked upon kindly for the elected officials, which is why we're complaint driven. The law changed a few years back, I think it might have been 3 or 4 years ago, where previously somebody could submit an anonymous complaint. The law now says you have to give your name and address. So that's the state of where things are today. As the city manager stated, some of the challenge with asking someone to make a complaint is, what you said, is neighbors don't want their next door neighbor, even across the street, to know that they were the ones making the complaint.
No, that's, the road I specifically refer to, just for the record, not the grocery thing, but the road I specifically refer to, somebody's actually come to me in person and said, where do I need to go to file this? So I was like, oh, okay. And that would be applicable with this being enforced, so.
They just go online and there's a form.
Yeah.
Or they can call City Hall,
They can call City Hall.
and we will get them where they need to be.
So, Mr. Booth, do I understand it right, that there's about 100 properties we're talking about in town that could be subject to this council report?
Oh, I think I spitballed that. There's a large number when you look at trailers, boats, vehicles. I wouldn't doubt.
So we got about 1 in 4 roughly that we're talking about, and with some other changes to housing in the state, we probably do need to do something to button things up just a little.
So is that for like an ordinance type review, or is that a charter situation?
I'm sorry, what's the
What
question?
he's talking about?
No, I'm just saying, we need to probably start enforcing a little bit more what's there ahead of some of the other housing changes that in the state. We start getting people living on property and things and all that, renting out spaces.
Oh.
So. Also, I have one more question with this. If the city employees driving around, they see a code violation, they of course could they report that to you?
It would be, as I was talking with Rachel, it's more of a health and safety issue.
So you can't deal with the health and safety. We have just a sparing amount of those. You can't deal with that.
It has to be imminent danger to life and property.
Okay.
I mean, there's an exception that's written out in the statute, it has to be almost immediate, so.
Okay.
If a house is to the point where it really needs to be condemned by the building official, it's that level.
Okay.
We look at. And if the city employees driving around, again, we're designed in a way to avoid the government, and our employees are still part of the government initiating those complaints.
Okay. Do you feel like we have enough on the health and safety side right now, or do we have any pressing concerns there?
I don't think we have anything that would be the trigger that Rich is discussing.
Are you still anticipating a 6-month kind of grace period for people, or what are you thinking?
So there's not necessarily a grace period. I mean, the way the statute outlines code enforcement processes, if there's a believed violation of the code, the complaint comes in, it's assigned to our code enforcement officer. Our officer has to go out, they have to personally observe the complaint. So the example I give to people is, like for example, a noise violation. If there's a noise violation that comes in on a Friday night at 2 a.m., by the time our code enforcement officer goes out Monday morning, chances are they're not going to be able to observe the complaint. If the complaint is validated and the code enforcement officer finds that there's a violation, the purpose of code enforcement is to ensure compliance. So then generally, depending on the severity of the violation, the code enforcement officer will give some time to cure or remedy the violation. If it's being worked on, oftentimes the code officer can extend that time. If there's no progress, or if at some point enough time has been given, the case then can be brought before our special magistrate. The magistrate will then also determine determine whether or not a violation of our code has occurred based upon the presentation by the code enforcement officer and the defense of the property owner. At that time, the code enforcement magistrate can also, or generally also, will give a period of time to cure the violation. If that does not happen, then come back for a second hearing, and that's where a fine can be imposed and a lien can be reported against the property. So it's a complex process that follows very strict statutory guidelines.
So how long does that usually take?
It depends on the violation. So, for example, if you have somebody that has multiple junk cars in the yard, and every month they're able to get rid of one. If you see progress, again, the purpose of code enforcement is not to fine somebody; it's to ensure compliance with our code. I would say that sometimes that can take a month, 2 months. There are some people that slide backwards. Sometimes they begin to make some progress as far as resolving the violation, and then so as part of the violation, we have to bring the code enforcement officer to verify that the violation has been remedied. If it's not remedied, sometimes it gets worse. Again, then you would go to the code enforcement magistrate.
Okay. Yeah.
So it depends. I'm sorry I can't give you the direct.
No.
It could be as soon as a week. It could be as long as 6 to 9 months.
I talked to Mr. Booth about it, and I wanted to make sure publicly that we answered, because that is gonna be the complaint. We will have someone saying that we've turned into an HOA or we're paying in place. I don't think what we're doing here is unreasonable in any way, but I wanted to ask those questions, so it's on record. I'd like you to enforce it. Write them up.
Once we have complaints, Councilman, once we have complaints.
Oh, listen.
Councilman, that might be getting
Hey, what's your cell number?
Tell them the number to call is 911.
All righty. Mr. Commander, do you have anything to report?
No, Madam Mayor, I think I've talked enough. Thank you.
All right. Council, do y'all have any comments or updates? Brandon?
So you're gonna kill me. I got 3. So the first one is one, I'm sure you guys all received the email. I believe it was sent separately, but it was an email from Ms. Young talking about the city's annual food truck fee.
Yeah.
Yes, so one of the points, so I did go back and I looked at it, and I looked at the fee schedule. I'm pretty comfortable with the fee schedule pretty much the way that it is. And I'm not proposing anything tonight, so don't worry. But the reason I wanted to do this is see if council felt this direction tonight and to draft something for a voting item next week. But I did think there was some of the points that were made and I kind of disagreed with. We have brick and mortar businesses that are down here that sell ice cream. So, there are opportunities if you're down at the beach to walk to Pangborn or to walk up to Whisk Cafe. But I think there is something to be said, similar to what we did for the for Keystone Beach Pavilion. If you're a city resident, you can obviously rent the pavilion at a discounted rate. For local food trucks, there's been years of issues with local food truck ordinances. There's been 3 or 4 different things that have come up over the years, but I do think something in this to possibly do a carve out would be a reduced annual fee of one. So if you look at it right now, the annual fee is $250 plus $75 per visit. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I'm saying maintain that for food trucks that are from outside the area. For example, if they're registered in Lake City, Gainesville, where a very significant majority of them that do business out this way are. But for food trucks within a certain radius, which would be, as was referred to me, the same defined area as the greater Keystone Heights region that we appoint for the airport from, that within, if your business is registered within that region, in my knowledge we have 2 or 3 food trucks that are, you're basically a local business. That's from Keystone, you might go elsewhere, but you're a local business. So since the fee for the food trucks would drop after that first year from $250 to $150, my proposal would be for businesses that are registered within that greater Keystone Heights region, having a reduced first year fee of $150, and then it maintains at that $150 moving forward. And that would be my only suggestion based off of that email. I don't know how the rest of council feels. You can absolutely toilet it. You can absolutely say you think it's a good idea. Either way, I'm open, but I wanted to see the direction of the rest of council before I would, write it for a vote or propose agenda item for next meeting.
So I have no problem doing it, carve out for local businesses. My only question I think would be, and for a later date with Mr. Booth, would be, of course, if there's, anticipated large economic impact, we would have to think about how we go about it. I don't see that there would be one just off conversation tonight, but I'm totally in agreement, be happy to support you in bringing whatever needs to be brought forward.
Any?
I think you've come up with a very good solution.
Okay. So I will draft something for the next meeting, and I will make sure it is into you early and in advance and very detailed for everybody to read.
The only add that I would have, Brandon, would be to make it the 32656 zip code, because
Sure.
that is our area. The carve out for the airport includes Middleburg and, you know what I mean?
Well, it's not that far. It goes up into Gainesville, short of Waldo.
But it's not the zip code of Keystone Heights.
No, it's
what I refer to.
basically the 3 zip codes
So
around
they-
Keystone Heights.
Right. If
This
it-
is, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just thinking, you're saying local, that's local, that's the zip code is the local Keystone Heights residents who have a Keystone Heights address,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
32656 does have a Keystone Heights address.
Correct.
Now my question.
I'm just saying limit it to that.
No, and so I don't think that's a bad idea. My concern is, I also know the high school backs up to literally the Bradford County line.
Right.
So you could live right behind the high school, basically be here in town, but you're technically in Bradford County.
I know.
Is that
It's
okay?
tough.
If
It's
that's,
tough.
if that's
Well, listen, I
They
have
reside
friends
within the zip code,
that live
do
in
not
Bradford County
preference,
that
not
have
registered
Keystone Heights
reside.
address.
if that's how you guys feel, that's absolutely, I don't
That's me.
necessarily disagree with that sentiment.
So, 32666.
32656.
No, listen to me. 32666 includes Melrose. Okay, and it starts about halfway between Keystone Heights and Melrose. And so, if we only go with 32656, you will exclude Melrose. And I consider them local. So, it's not much more than Melrose, though.
Yeah.
So if we were to do 32656 and include 32666, I would say that we are good. We're not going to Alachua County and Gainesville, and we're not going to Hawthorne, and we're not going to Waldo or Stark or any of those other places.
But does that have a Keystone Heights postal code? Because that's going to be a concern that we get.
Melrose does not. That's why you would have to include 32666. That's Melrose.
But doesn't that does cover multiple counties though, I thought?
It does. There are actually 4 counties in the Melrose area.
And that's what I'm saying, that's where I understand the
Bradford, Putnam, and
32656,
Clay.
the other's a bit of a challenge.
I think
Okay,
we're good with
okay.
the proposal.
All right, just to make sure.
That's more of an item to, just
That's
because
fine.
we're, it's a little late
Yeah.
tonight, so I'll have it,
Okay.
we can kind of discuss that more next week if we need to.
It's
So
just a
I'll
fee
have that
schedule
as a-
update. I think it's a fairly simple one.
Correct.
Okay.
My second item that I had, don't worry, nothing extended anymore. Planning and zoning workshop, I attended that earlier this month. I wasn't able to be with you guys. We were all doing double duty that night. It was the same night as Coffee and Commerce. It was a very informative meeting. If you haven't seen it, Wendy can attest. It went about 2.5 hours. It ended up, actually, we were on the phone with Rich. So it was a very interesting meeting. It was a very productive meeting. So I encourage you to watch it if you haven't. We also had a very productive event. I think pretty much almost all of us were at the Lake Region Prosperity Partners event with Howard Wanamaker the other night. And just for the public record, he actually gave Keystone a shout out during that presentation. One of the conversations in Tallahassee right now is on possible things involving property taxes. And he pretty much said Keystone was the most prepared municipality in Clay County. If something like that happened, we would be in the best financial shape compared to all of them. Am I misrepresenting the way that he said it
Based
that
on Jamie
night?
Booth's math, so
Based off
take
of-
it for what it's worth.
Based off of, and that's the way that Howard had presented it that night. So, that's a testament to our staff and our team who keep us,
That's great.
cognizant. That's why Keystone, no drama, no mess, no fuss. We're doing great. The last item that I'll have is for those of you guys who know, last month I had mentioned I was appointed as the municipal representative for the Northeast Florida Regional Council. Well, I had my first meeting last Thursday up in downtown Jacksonville, and one of the projects that I am being assigned is to be a part, and so I'm actually really glad some of our airport folks are here right now because it's very relevant. The governor's office has tasked each regional council in the state with creating what is called a military installation readiness review. The MER is the way that they refer to it. And so for our region, there's 5 facilities. There's NAS Jax, there's Blunt Island, which is in Jacksonville. There's Naval Station Mayport. There's a 4th one that's based out of Ocala National Forest, which I can't speak to. She didn't give me the name. And it's not a facility, but it's a testing site, which I had no idea even existed out there. But the 5th one is, of course, Camp Blanding. Now, that's not prioritized, but that was one of the ones that was on the list. And so part of the conversations that they had talked about is the next meeting will be in April. The Keystone Airport and Blanding are part of those conversations that they want to have, but because they didn't know anybody from that area at the time, they've not really talked about it. So anyways, she had kind of brought me in on that and asked if I would be willing to work with some of our folks down here. So I had just recently spoken with Craig about it. I found out Thursday, and it's been a crazy last couple of days, but I'll be touching base with you in the coming weeks, and we can we'll all square it away together. So otherwise, that's all that I have, and thank you for dealing with my extended comments, unfortunately.
Good ones. Good ones. Good to know you're involved.
Vice Mayor, do you have any comments for us?
Nothing further.
No?
Nothing further.
I have 2 things. First is the Budget and Finance Committee met on February 24th. Our focus at that meeting was what do we need to amend? Because the end of March will be our 6-month halfway point through the fiscal year. And so we identified 17 amendments that we think need to happen to the budget. And the city staff is going to work on exact figures. And the next meeting of the council in April, they will bring those figures to us. We'll actually see the figures in the end of March meeting at the Budget and Finance Committee, and we'll say that looks good or whatever. And so then in April, we should be able to approve a mid-year amendment to take care of our current budget. We developed this thing last summer, we made our best guesses, and things are going to change, and so 17 of them. And then we'll do that again in September. We'll do it one more time. Otherwise, we're going to focus our next efforts on building the budget for the next fiscal year, beginning October 1st of 2026. And so if you want to come to the meeting, come to the meeting. It's on the 24th, and help us as we start to build it. The other thing was I went to the Florida League of Cities, the Northeast Florida League of Cities, last Thursday. No, it was 2 Thursdays ago now. Yeah, it was in Stark, and it was a smaller meeting. Some people don't like to go to Stark. I don't know, whatever it is. But it was there that I learned about all the stuff that was going on at the airport. And so I was very happy that I went. And again, I would encourage you to go if your schedules allow. There's a lot of stuff going on. We can't go to everything. And speaking of which, the the March meeting here of the Northeast Florida League of Cities is in Green Cove Springs, and I cannot make it. So if anybody else can go and join our city manager, and Wendy often goes, that'd be great to show the flag, so to speak.
I've already flagged Wendy down, so I will at least be there.
Okay, excellent.
That's the plan. Can I have your dessert then?
Yeah, sure. The one after that will be the next board of directors meeting. And I am slowly learning how involved the board of directors is in Tallahassee, and how much they are involved in legislation and lobbying and all that kind of stuff. And I came about this close. In fact, if one other person hadn't stepped up, I'd be going to Tallahassee right now for one of those committees like you're serving on. And the thing that Betsy Jordan, she's the executive secretary of the Florida League of Cities, says, so you'll be doing it next year then, right? So it looks like...
Rest in peace.
What's that?
I said rest in peace.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, the other lady's already looking a little haggard with what they have her doing. But what I'm saying though is our little town of Keystone Heights, the positions that you serve on, the positions you serve on, the positions that I've been asked to serve on, we have way more influence than our population says we should have. And I give that a tribute to our solid leadership here and there. If we weren't the right kind of people, they wouldn't be giving us these positions. So I just applaud my colleagues and my coworkers and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate all, and you guys too, go to the Florida League of Cities symposium last year. And our engagement in that outfit, I think, is a huge bonus for all of us. Even at the county, and especially at the county level too. I mean, we reach out to all these different folks within the region. We can call these folks up and say, hey, how do y'all do X, right? And so I appreciate everyone being engaged, even though you can't go to everything, but at least we're showing up and they know their work.
Yep.
They really do. And so I think it's a great thing. It's a great movement forward.
So I just have one thing, and it speaks to what they do, and it speaks a little bit to your budget committee meeting that was last week, which you raised septic to sewer conversion. And that, when I came on the council, I said that's what I want to talk about. Nobody else will want to talk about that, and I think that's a big deal. Annexation and having your septic to sewer. Mr. Booth found a nice copy, I'm going to say it's bedroom reading, but it's about this thick, of a Clay County utility study that they did feasibility study back in 2012. At that time, the price tag for a septic to sewer conversion was around $6 million. Obviously, I won't tell you what that price tag is today, but given what the airport has going on and given where we think we will be in 3 to 5 years, I really do want to thank you for talking about that, but it is kind of a priority of mine. I do think we need to begin to educate the public as we move in that direction, because we are well past, we're probably around, I think, Mr. Booth, you said a guess might be around 15 to 20 million in costs.
It's definitely double.
And we're going to have to do a lot of planning, even just discussing how to go about just how we go about any of this, and it's not for tonight, but I do think, and I'm going to make it my mission at some level to seek to work with you all to educate the public about the need to talk about this, to engage with them. It's something that affects nearly every homeowner here. It's not a pretty subject. We had a public comment recently about it, and the price they were quoting and horrified by was actually less than what it would have really cost. And we invited them here, said, come, understand what we do. And so I'm working with Mr. Booth to identify ways. Again, I generally like the mayor and vice mayor to be out doing those things, but in this area to certainly talk to the public, to be the bad guy on it and say, this is what we're looking at. It's not a fancy subject, not one that most people want to talk about, but I think it's very necessary. And I think with families that are up and coming, I think our median age is 43 now. The cost involved to each family would be something that I think it would be very uncomfortable for them to bear. And so we want to take that off the plate if we can have a solution. And that will take some time. So I want to thank you all for talking about it in your meeting. I want to thank Mr. Booth for finding that document, because there's not a digital copy. It is a thick paper copy. I'm guessing about 500 to 600 pages of paperwork. And so that's kind of something I need to share with you all. And I'm working in a way, and I hopefully will find a local reporter that will let me write an article about that, or something. Maybe let the public know. We need to let them know what we have going on in this regards. Because we do have a lot of good work. We're not just about festivals and lights, and there is some really serious stuff that Mr. Booth and the entire city staff are engaged in that never sees the light of day. And that was the one part of this that I think with the public, I wish I could have just gone online and said to them. I didn't do it because I generally don't comment, but they have no idea how many hours and the discussions that you all have had behind closed doors. And maybe that's representative government. They don't have to know. But I want to thank you for the work you do, and I want everyone on this council to know that when I'm talking about these things, it's not me trying to do anything. I just want to help educate the public, and so I invite you to be a part of that with me, if you will.
I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
So we attended with the Lake Area's Prosperity Partners. The gentleman from Clay Utilities gave a great presentation about the sewer to septic septic to sewer conversion, laid out the whole city and showed all the different areas where the names are and things like that, and what his recommendations would be, this area first, then this area, and I remember him putting something together, and I can't remember his name, it would be hard to find out. But I agree, I think that maybe he comes and talks to us about what that might look like, and then we take that to the public and have a town hall and say, we need y'all to come because we need you to see what's going on here. We're trying to get grants for it, as the other cities are. I know St. Augustine got a $200 million grant for theirs. So how does she do that? You know, I need to reach out to her. How did she do that? So I know in our case, we weren't approved to even look at it. I think at the last legislative event.
So we put in for a just shy of $1 million grant to FDEP with their existing funds. They didn't have as much, so we didn't get anything on that. And then our legislative request through the House did not make it to their budget. So.
Just have to find out how can we also get support. The problem is everybody in the state of Florida is looking for the same thing. And they do have a goal, I think it's 2035 or something like that, of conversion, if I'm not mistaken. There's some kind of a goal. It was a DeSantis thing, but I don't know.
Something
It could
kicks
change.
off in 2030 and there's another in 2035.
And I
It's sort of
think
reversed.
coastal cities get priority.
Yeah, yeah, you're probably right. So, anyway, good thought there. Okay, I just have a few updates. First of all, I did attend the meeting with Justin from Kuntz, the company. It was very, very interesting, very wonderful, nice man. Learned a lot. His presentation was emailed to all of us. It was really quite good. I did go to their website. He really loves Keystone. He said they had mentioned to him going to Louisville. He goes, I don't know. He really wanted the rural setting because of their students that come and go. They want them to kind of be in a laid-back area.
Michigan offered him $4 million.
Wow, really?
Wow.
Wow.
Second.
Yeah, it was, yeah, he said he really liked what we had here. Also, I went to one of the Florida League of Mayors Board of Directors meetings down in Ocala at their beautiful Equestrian Center. And what we did was had a workshop based on crisis management in municipalities. With everything going on with Mrs. Guthrie in Tucson, to now we have all these other things going on around us with this war going on. How do you handle crises? And they had folks that, Mayor was there from the Parkland shootings, and she talked about what they did. So we went through step by step, and we got to do role plays, a group of us all at different tables. So learned a lot from that. They gave us a lot of materials and how to handle it. Also, Jamie and I met with, and Drew was there too. I noticed last year our parade is no longer in existence. So I looked into it, our high school homecoming parade, excuse me, and I just hate that. Personally, I think it's a tradition, and I wanted to know why. And Principal Burke told me it had to do with finances and some regulations and security. So we had a meeting with Mrs. Jackson, the teacher, Ms. Goolsby, and there was one other lady, I can't remember her name right now. But about 6 of us had a meeting this week, or last week. And the next steps is they're gonna get direct details from the principal, and then we're going to go to the sheriff's office, and we may go to the school board. We're going to figure out why. Why can't we get the support to continue holding this parade? I didn't want her to use finances as the main reason. I said just come to me with solid suggestions on what the needs are, and it's for the kids. Kids love the parades, so it gives them something to look forward to. So anyway, working on that, keep you guys updated. I hope they were able to bring it back for this year. Also, we attended several that were there just the other night for the Lake Erie Regional Prosperity Partners, where Howard Wanamaker, the county manager of Clay, gave us an incredible analysis on the whole thing about property taxes and this big vote that the House just approved just a few weeks ago. And he just was showing the impacts that it will make, not only just with our areas, but the entire state, all the counties, and a lot of different views. And then he looked at ours in a very myopic way, separating out all the different categories of where the monies go. I want to say, he said the budget for Clay is like 800 or 900 million, but only 300 million of that is what the commissioners only get to kind of decide where it might go. The rest of it's already named for or called for. So it was a really great presentation that he shared. Tomorrow I get to do mock interviews for the high school for their CTE, their career technical education. applicants, or they're gonna be graduating this year, but mock interviews for them for job applications, so that'll be kind of fun. And also, we're gonna be hosting a career technical education field trip for selected students, 11th and 12th graders, to come here for a tour of City Hall. So I'll be sending you all an invite to do a mock meeting with them so they can see what we do behind the dais. And then Jamie and staff are gonna share with them what they do and how we work together to make things happen for our city. So that's it for me. All right, anything else?
What do you do in your spare time?
Oh, stop. Thanks everyone for hanging for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm sorry about that. Great meeting. Thank you so much. Meetings are good.